Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the NH Experience. And on today's show, I have a very special guest. You've seen her plastered all over the TV space, all over the digital space. She is definitely an on-air personality and host for Sports Illustrated. She's also the co-host of Certified Buckets on Uninterrupted. She's also SNY TV contributor. Yes, and she's a Knicks fan on top of that. And she will clap back on you. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the hardest working woman in the business, Ashley Nicole Moss. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Long time no speak.
I know. Well, hey, look here. I can't keep up with you. I know that you're alive because I watch your Instagram and your Twitter. But other than that, I ain't seen you or talk to you in a minute.
Yeah, it's been hectic. It's been a hectic time. But listen, it's a good hectic. I think we're all blessed to be able to do what we love to do, whatever, capacity in which, you're doing that. And that's more than a lot of people can say right now. So gotta count the blessings where they are.
Indeed, indeed. Now you've been busy. You've been all over the space, all over the country, doing interviews here, doing interviews there. We're definitely going to get into that. But before we get into that, and everybody sees the glitz and the glamour, as I like to call it, as far as what people perceive as, you were overnight success. But there were many,
Mm-hmm.
many years that had to dig deep and grind and get to that moment. Growing up for you, you're from New York City. Growing up for you, what was that like? And then at what point did you realize media was a opportunity in a space that you were going to be able to travel in and be able to make your mark in?
Growing up in New York was great. I mean, I think growing up in an environment that is just known for its hustler mentality and its hustle and bustle, it really teaches you from a young age, just from a viewpoint of being exposed to that and being immersed in that. It just kind of teaches you to have that grind, to have that grit, to have, that some people say that ruggedness or that cynicalness, that New Yorkers are known for. But I think, it really made me tough. Made me in a lot of ways grow up quick, but in a good way. And I think that it really kind of shaped me for this industry. Like you said, I'm quick to clap back and I'm quick to not let things shake me and rattle me. And, that's something that I learned at a very young age, having a tough skin, a thick skin. That's also,
Mhm.
due to my parents also born and raised New Yorkers. It's just a New York energy, a New York mentality. Um, and I realized really early on that I wanted to be in front of the camera. I actually started off younger. I did, acting and modeling and things like that. So I was always in front of the camera in some capacity, but it wasn't until I got older and took the hobby of watching sports with my dad and really starting to understand the logistics of the game, not just watching it as an entertainment source, but actually understanding the logistics and all the moving parts of sports, from trades to plays, things like that, that I really fell in love with discussing and analyzing, debating, and also telling stories of the men and women who are on the field and on the court and who they are outside of the game as well. So it all kind of came together.
Well, you know what? That's a beautiful thing. I think when you talk about the modeling aspect,
Hmm.
everybody that has seen you can see. Okay, yeah, we've noticed that she probably was in the modeling back in the day, just because you have that stature, that swag that comes with that,
Hmm.
along with obviously the physical gifts. But when you look at the modeling industry, at what point did you say, okay, I've reached my ceiling, this is it, I got to move on to something else?
Well, I was never the tallest. I'm only 5'7", only 5'7", and there have been models that are short. Remember, this was also in a time where, IG models weren't really a thing yet. They were
Right.
starting to become a thing, but even then they had a very negative kind of narrative that surrounded it, right? It was like, "Oh, you're an IG model." So, I was never tall enough to be like a runway model. I was never, thin enough to like get away with the fact that I was shorter, but I also wasn't like a Kate Moss physique, which made it a little bit harder to kind of break into like high fashion and runway and stuff. So I did commercial,
Mhm.
I did like photo shoots like with clothing brands. I actually did like some campaigns with Pretty Little Thing before they were like big as they are now. But
Mm.
I also realized, I was doing it as I was trying to dive into the sports world as well. And there came a point that I realized, I can't focus on both and give both my full attention. And also, when you're first breaking into the industry as a woman, unfortunately, you already are combating the fact that you are a woman and you look like a woman, and there's already that misogynistic narrative and mindset that exists that women can't be in sports. You add the fact that you're, a model on top of that, or you do modeling or whatever. It's kind of like, it makes it a lot harder. So I was like, I gotta step back from this and try to, recreate the wheel and recreate my identity outside of that world. Yeah.
When you talk about being a woman in the industry and primarily the sports industry, I obviously know you're a beautiful person, you're an intelligent person. But at what point did you realize? At what point did you have to really focus and let people know, hey, I got something between the ears here. I got something that's more valuable than just what you see on the outside, as far as the physique and everything like that.
I think I learned that rather quickly. I think, when you're coming up in this industry, unfortunately, not all mentors are actual mentors. And I think I learned that the hard way. There are men who will take you under their wing, but it's not always with the best intentions. And I realized, that unfortunately the narrative of women in sports and, the ideologies that go with that, they're very outdated, but they exist. And I think the only way that I learned very quickly that they exist with or without, me making a big deal out of them. So for me, it was always, the acceptance of, look, that narrative's always going to be there. That is always going to be a conversation. That's always going to be comments, misogynistic comments regarding that. But as long as that's not the only thing they can say about me, that I'm fine. If it's like, oh, she's really pretty and it's comments on my looks, and I feel like that's always going to be there, especially when you're dealing with men. But if the follow-up is like, but she's so intelligent, but she's so smart, she's so prepared, she's so
Hmm.
well versed, then that, I'm willing to take, the handful of things that come with that.
Now, do you get pissed off or offended when people that don't look like us say how articulate you are when they come in contact with you without having contact previously?
I've actually, you know what? I think I'm also like the wrong person to ask these questions to, because I also am skilled in the art of tuning people out. Like I'm like, a lot of the time I just tune things out. I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. I take it as a compliment when people say that I'm articulate. It means, the money my parents spent to send me to college was well, spent. I don't find it as an insult. I think that, it's a compliment. I do think, it's weird thing to kind of lead with. I will say that. Like that's the first thing. I'm like, wow, you're really articulate. I didn't think that. Like why didn't you think that I would be articulate? That's but I also try not to make a big deal out of people who I think are genuinely trying to give compliments.
No, I think you're better than me, because the first person that says that does not look like us, I'm grilling them like they on the
What do you
stand.
mean by that? Like the meme. Like what do
Yeah.
you mean by that? Yeah.
What are you trying to say? What do you are you saying that you're stereotyping us? Is that no, no? Then here come no, I have plenty, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm always interested to see just from different perspectives how people take certain things, because I feel like, we're all handling things differently. But yet we go through some of the similar things in this industry when you're coming across talking with people. You talked about the college life. What
Mhm.
did you learn? What are some of the things that you learned in college that helped prepare you for the moves that you're making right now?
I had a great college experience. I mean, at FAU, we had a great program where they really understood it was multimedia journalism, and we learned every aspect of journalism, from newspaper writing to radio to digital, in terms of blogs and all the different inner workings of where journalism has been and where it's going to be and has continued to be that trajectory. So I felt, I left college with a well versed education in what journalism is and the history of it. I got a lot of on-hand experience also. I used to write for the school paper. I wrote profiles on the football team and certain players. I used to be a beat writer for the basketball team. So I'd sit at games at the scorer's table and write my little story and have to have that in, by a deadline of the same day. So I felt really prepared from a writing standpoint. And I think, it helped me, land an internship that kind of was very hands-on, in front of the camera, behind the scenes. And I grinded. I know a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, you just popped up out of nowhere." What's the saying? It takes 10 years to become an overnight success, or whatever the case may be. That's the case. It's been a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of doing a little things in between there, doing things you don't necessarily always want to do, doing things that don't pay very well to get you to the position that,
Mhm.
I'm in or anybody is in right now. It's a lot of hard work that goes behind it.
I concur. When you look at just the overall industry, like you deal with a lot of male athletes, especially.
Mhm.
How are you able to form some of those relationships and let them know that there's a line of respect, there's a line of professionalism? We can be cool, but
Mhm.
don't think about crossing that line.
I think, I lead with authenticity. I think I'm a very unapologetically, authentic person. I've never tried to kind of present this version of myself that's perfect. I've never tried to present this version of myself that's not, true to who I am. I think that people either love me or they hate me, or, they're like, oh, she's cool, and that's fine. You're not for everybody. You're not everyone's cup of tea. And I think for me, it took me a long time to be okay with that. When you're younger and you're first getting out into this industry and you're starting out, you want to be liked by everyone, right? You think you have to be liked by everyone in order to be successful. And I find, people who are drawn to the authentic way that I live my life and the way that I deliver my content and the way that I interview, they'll rock with it. And people who don't, that's cool too, but you're not stopping the train. The train's leaving the station with or without you on board. If you're on board, you're in for a hell of a ride. If you're not, you're missing out. And that's kind of the philosophy like I move with. And I think so many people have to move with, because people who rock with you and rock with the work and see it and believe in what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing, they'll be there. And the people who don't, that's cool too. That's different strokes for different folks. That's how I feel.
Hey man, say that one more time for the folks in the back. Uh,
Different strokes for different folks.
yeah,
Listen.
that's that. I'm gonna give you an offering. You over here preaching. When you when you look at just all right, you migrated from New York. Now you in South Beach in Miami
Mhm.
with the Miami Heat. You connected with a lot of Heat players, a lot of Heat personnel. The Godfather himself, Pat Riley.
Mhm.
Now, how did that come together? Because that's not an easy circle to try to penetrate through. So how were you able to maneuver and navigate your way through that and be able to establish that rapport and that trust factor with all of those people involved?
First, I got to interview Pat Riley before I even was on Miami radio. Like, that interview happens, I was working at NBC at the time and I had like barely a role there, but we were working a event that he was getting honored for. And last minute they were like, Pat Riley will come and talk to you. I was so nervous. To this day, that was the most nerve-wracking interview of my life. Like, it was like there were times
Wow.
I was like, can he smell that I'm a Knicks fan? Do we have like an odor? Is this like a weird thing? But then on top of that, also, I mean, again, it goes back to the authenticity thing. When I was on, Miami Sports Radio, and I would speak to the players and things like that, I think I come from a very genuine place of, I'm not trying to trick you, I'm not trying to trip you up, I'm not trying to hot take you, I'm not trying to get you to say something that's going to get you in trouble, I'm not trying to get you to say something and then anonymous source you. I'm really
Right.
just interested in what comes out of your mouth, your takes, your thoughts, your opinions, your story. And then obviously in between that, there's the rumors that circulate during the off season and trades and things like that. And you don't always get that right. And, that's just the nature of the beast. But when it comes to the people involved, I remember that before they're athletes, they're people. And I try to go ahead and treat them as such. And I think that because they feel that it comes from such a genuine place, it makes it easier to kind of penetrate certain circles and forge certain relationships, because they know you're not the ops, basically. You're not the feds.
Who was the easiest player that you were able to make a connection with, and who was the most difficult player that you had to make a connection with?
Um, Easiest player from is a few that have been really, really good to me. I would say one of the first players that probably one of the biggest names, the first people that I was able to forge a relationship pretty easily, Bam Adebayo. He's such a great guy. I consider him we're still really good friends. I'm just speaking to him the other day. He's really a genuine person. With Bam, it's the same thing. What you see is what you get. And I think that's one of the things I was drawn to him, and vice versa, is that we're just two very authentic people. We have a very authentic relationship, friendship. So that was somebody that was really easy to forge a relationship with, especially being in the Miami area and things like that. Difficult was I don't know if there's anybody been difficult. I think that every relationship kind of, you approach it differently. Some people are more
Mhm.
guarded when you first meet them, and they're kind of like, they treat you as such. And I'm like that. So I can never say somebody who moves like that is difficult. But I think that I've been able to forge really solid and genuine relationships with a lot of people because, like I said, I move in an authentic space, and I think people are, receptive to that. I think they can feel the difference.
Not only do you have NBA players, but you also have some NFL players that you've been good friends with. We've seen the photos with you and Melvin Gordon,
Yeah.
several other NFL
Gave me a
players.
hard time, yes, and the other day with my Dallas Cowboys. It was rough.
Oh, hold on, because we're gonna get into the Cowboys, and
Yeah, it
we
was
gonna
rough.
we
It
gonna
was
work.
rough.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a moment. Please, I promise you on that. But just when you know these guys like him and others that you've been able to forge a friendship with, how different is it off the field? Because most people get a chance to see what they see on television, obviously certain interviews, but then they rarely see them what goes on behind the scenes as far as them being as people. How are you able to turn it off as far as being the media person and then turn that off and becoming the friend or the confidant that they entrusted you to be and being able to hang around them?
I think being a journalist actually has made me a better friend because it makes you a more active
Mm,
listener. I think one
mm,
of the things that, my friendships, especially with professional athletes, they can appreciate is that I think a lot of the times they're so used to people talking at them and not to them. And I think that a lot of the times people don't really listen. They listen, but they're not really listening. And I think that when you are surrounded by people who are genuinely like invested and are looking you in the eye and actively listening, and, there's no, hidden agenda. It's really just like, okay, this is what you're going through. Like, let's talk it through. I think people are genuinely appreciative of that. Like I said, especially athletes. And I think with all the relationships that I have, I think that if you asked every single one of them, like what one of my best character traits are as a friend, is that I'm a really good listener. And that comes from being a journalist, because I think that what makes me a really good journalist is that I am a really good listener, and I'm able to kind of pick up on what you're saying and dive deeper into that, and make you feel comfortable enough to let the guards down and be vulnerable and have an honest conversation. And I apply that to my friendships as well. But these guys they're regular people. And I know it's such like a crazy philosophy or a crazy just idea for people who see them and they're larger than life. And it's like, oh my God, that's LeBron James, or oh my gosh, that's D Wade.
mhm.
But at the end of the day, these guys are just, they're men and women. If you cut them, they bleed. When something's funny, they laugh. When something's sad, they cry. At the end of the day, they are just humans like you and me with an exceptional skill set for competitive sports. And that's really what it comes down to. That's really all it is.
Well, I'm just trying to get an invitation on the yacht down in South Beach. I'm just trying to get the invite. So,
Listen, I don't know. Be
I,
careful what you wish for. The Giants have been cursed ever since that yacht in the 305. So you might want to be careful.
well, I scrub the floors, I mop, whatever I gotta do to get on there. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's South Beach. Hey, you can't pass that up.
Just don't wear your Timbs on the boat. OBJ learned that the hard way.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, don't get me started on that dude. But yeah, that part. When you look at, I mean, you made history. I mean, you being a woman at Sports Illustrated and having
Mhm.
the platform that you've been able to have. First and foremost, I said this before, but I'll say it again. Congratulations to you, because that's
Thank
not
you.
easy, but you earned that definitely. What was that transition like for you to be, now you're one of the focal points on that platform, and having the space to be able to, and the creative freedom, I might add, to be able to do and showcase to the world who you are and kind of share a little bit of your personality?
Yeah, for me, it was really important when I joined Sports Illustrated. I made this very clear, when they hired me and we were going through the process, of having those conversations is, Sports Illustrated is already an iconic institution when it comes to journalism, right? I think, the journalistic integrity is there. People know what they're getting from Sports Illustrated from a writing standpoint. But sports is changing. The world is changing. The way that we consume sports is more digital, more social media centric than ever before. And as I was kind of stuck in a rut of doing things the old way when the world has changed. So I made it very clear that when I joined, I wanted the freedom to not only, make content that I wanted to see myself, but also make content that connected the company to a culture that they've ignored. They've been so focused on a certain demographic and a certain type of sports fan. Sports fans are all over the place now. They come in so many different colors and age groups. And I think when you ignore a certain demographic and group of people, you're really missing out on having assets to your company, not only within it, but also supporters and fans. And I wanted to be part of kind of changing that and bridging the gap between, Sports Illustrated and, the Black culture and minorities in general, Hispanic, Asians, and people who, want to see people who look like them, or at least can understand in some capacity what it's like to be a minority in this country that we live in. And Black Twitter is a real thing. You know what I mean? That's a real thing. It's a real cultural experience, and you can't speak to that unless you're in it. And that's something that only I and people that look like you and me can do. And to have people like that on your team is an asset. And I'm, glad that SI has entrusted me with that responsibility. And it's one that I take very, very seriously.
Definitely. When you look at now, Ashley, you over here racking up frequent flyer miles. Now you all over the country. I'm
I
watching you
am.
here. Next day you over in on the East Coast, then you're on the West Coast, then you Midwest and down South. I mean, you just all over the place, being able to talk to various important people. When
Mhm.
you look, I remember you had an interview with Jalen Rose at his
Yes.
school academy, and then you
Mhm.
talking to my God, my man, the man I grew up on, Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, that was
And
amazing.
I was hoping Little Penny was gonna be there, but I didn't see that, so
He didn't
I
show
don't
up
know.
this time. He
Yeah,
didn't show up.
I don't
Yeah.
know what's up with Little Penny, man. He ain't
He's been
returning my
bugging.
calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, But when you look at guys like Jalen Rose and what they've accomplished, not just in the basketball world, but in the media space, as well as doing great work he's doing with young Black
Mm.
kids, especially. What was your impression of him beforehand, and what did you take away from him once you guys finished and conducted the interview?
Jalen is a really good friend. I speak to him often. He's a great sounding board. He has a lot of wisdom and advice, and he's lived multiple lifetimes. I say that about him all the time. He's young, but he's lived so many, lifetimes beyond his age. And we connected on social. It was funny. He had that moment on Countdown where he was, talking about his mother, and he had just lost her, and he was very emotional. I just tweeted out, that I appreciated him being so vulnerable with us, and wishing him well and things like that. And that developed into a connection on social. And then from there, we went ahead and we were able to have a friendship. And I asked him, hey, I would love to have you on the season finale of Laces Out. Like, can we do it? He's absolutely, come to Detroit. I'll teach you guys well. Jalen is, for somebody who had such a bad reputation back in the day as like a troublemaker and X, Y, and Z, he really is one of the best in the business. And I think one of the great things about Jalen is he has the ability to speak about basketball in a way that non-players can understand. But also I think he has the respect of athletes because he never crosses that line. And I think that's the benefit of a lot of guys is a lot of guys who formerly played is they know not to cross a certain line because they know what it's like to be on the other side of that. And Jalen does it well. And, a lot of great things are in the works for him. He's doing his thing. And I'm just really proud to be able to call him a friend and to know him. He's a really, really good guy.
I was proud to see him and Chris, mend fences. I love seeing these brothers
Yeah.
come back together in public after just just very very tight situation over the course of
Yeah.
time because of the Fab Five. I grew up on the Fab Five. I tell people this all the time. I was a Fab Five fan between that and the '91 Running Rebels. Those are my squads right there.
Yeah.
So
Good squads.
to see those two individuals, Chris Webber and Jalen Rose come together, I thought that was a beautiful thing. And hopefully we get a chance to see the reunion of the Fab Five come together, especially back in Michigan, because they deserve it, man. They
Absolutely. Yeah. I heard that they want to honor the Fab Five. And I know that's something the guys, have been trying to get together and work on. And listen, at the end of the day, brothers fight, family members fight,
Mhm.
and the Fab Five was a family. And Jalen and Chris and the guys, they have their own situations that they need to handle and stuff outside of public eye. And then when they come together, I hope that they've done that work and, they forge a relationship once again that, can't be broken because at the end of the day, look, life's short. And,
Yeah.
somebody that you've been able to go through such an iconic, legendary time in your life with, you should be able to overcome anything. And I wish that for them also.
Absolutely. Now I got to get to my man Penny Hardaway. You did a fantastic interview with him. What was it like sitting down with a guy of his legendary status, being now he's coaching college ball and then impacting the players that he's been impacting? We know he has a couple players already in the NBA. So what was that experience like for you?
It was unreal. Like there have been a few instances in my career thus far where I've interviewed people and I'm like, am I actually like, did that just did that just happen? Am I doing this right now? Penny was one of those moments for me. And I mean, I'm a huge Penny fan. I don't think, anybody could not be a Penny fan. I mean, he was swaggy, he was elusive. He helped put Orlando on the map. And I mean, the little Penny commercials, as you mentioned, the shoes, everything. He was one of the first basketball players to really forge that lane of being an athlete and also, being an icon in the fashion sneaker game. Like, he was one of the pioneers in that. And I think you can't ignore that. And to be in his presence and to be able to just pick his brain about some of the things, that he's gone through as a player and now in his new chapter as a coach was such an honor. The hospitality in Memphis was incredible. The guys, at the program, Jalen and Imani, he's got a good group of guys there. And it was really an honor to be able to be in their space and to kind of pick all three of their brains, but especially Penny. I mean, that's a legend. That's not an interview that happens very often. And I was honored that it was mine. So.
Yeah, that's major. Please let me know you got some barbecue while you were down in Memphis.
Of course. I got I got some ribs and they were fantastic. And I don't eat pork, but I said, you know what? I'm in Memphis and I'm going to make an exception. So I did, and it was worth it. So
for you, I will make an exception.
I did. Hey. I did Memphis only for you.
Hey, when in Rome, do what the Romans do.
Exactly.
Now I got quite a bone to pick with you, Ashley Nicole Moss. Because I watched the Late Show. I watch it. You know what I mean? It's a good show. I like the camaraderie between you and the other gentlemen that you have on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall you putting one of the Penny shoes. I'm talking about the foam posits up on there as one of your top shoes. I'm trying to figure out, man, what's up with that?
I didn't put it in Laces Out. It wasn't in any of the episodes, but we did do a video for SI for NBA 75 where I gave my top 3 NBA shoes of all time. Number 3 was the Kobe Grinches. Number 2 was the foam posits. And number 1 was a Jordan 11. So he did make my top 3 of top shoes, basketball shoes of all time. He was in that list. I'm a huge fan of the foam posits. I know a lot of people are like, they're heavy. You can't play in. I thought, first of all, the design was ingenious. And I think a lot of people don't realize LeBron's shoes and a lot of shoes that people love today got ideas from the foam posit. That was an OG design that kind of springboarded a lot of the designs that people are rocking today and continue to make today. So do not sleep on the foam posits.
Those especially the penny foam posits, the 1 cent. Those are sick. I'm still hunting for those, by the way.
Yeah, fire.
So you got a number for me.
You got to go to the University of Memphis. They got them by the boatload.
Oh, okay. All right. So I know I had to talk to the right person. Okay, all right, cool. Being on Uninterrupted. Now you're going from Sports Illustrated. You're also on Uninterrupted. How was that transition? How much do you have more? Do you feel like you have more creative freedom with Uninterrupted? Is it more structured? What was that space for you, and how did you adjust to being an aspect? Because obviously every platform is a little different.
I think podcasts are cool. I mean, as you know, we're on a podcast right now. You do your thing in that realm. It's kind of like radio with more freedom because like you can curse and you can get real like crazy on it because you don't have the FCC regulations and stuff like that. I think it's the same thing with Certified Buckets. I mean, we're not, reinventing the wheel and we're not, solving global warming crises. You know what I mean? We're talking hoops and we're talking culture. And I think, the platform is great for that because it's by athletes for athletes. And I think because of that, you can be a little bit more free. And, Lethal Shooter and Christian Winsfield, my co-host on the show, they're tapped into their own, aspects of that. And the three of us together, we are able to really have like cool conversations. And we also have serious conversations sometimes, but they're all in the undertone of nobody's trying to bash anybody. Nobody's trying to, say this athlete sucks or that one sucks or that's a troublemaker. It's honest conversations that come from a good place. And I think it's an enjoyable podcast to just rock out to and listen to. And we've got some really cool guests coming up for the next few weeks. So it's definitely going to be a vibe for sure.
Yeah, I got a chance to catch a couple of episodes, man. I like you guys' chemistry. I enjoy it. I mean, Lethal Shooter is hilarious to me. I always thought that was hilarious. So
I think people don't realize how funny he is because when you see him on Insta, he's shooting these crazy shots and stuff. So it's hard to get a gauge for someone's personality, but he is absolutely hilarious. Like he's really, really funny.
No, I enjoy it. I think you guys got a good chemistry. Kudos to the individuals that put, had the good sense to put you along with those two individuals as well. Talking about media and primarily Black media and Black-owned media, how important is it in today's space and what needs to continue to happen to make it important? Because I often feel like they're doing the little things to try to eradicate us little by little and keep us out of the space where we're not able to get the content that we need or get those opportunities with these interviews with legendary players or entertainers and things like that. Where do you see the space now, and where do you think it needs to go to continue to have a strong impact?
I think it's made strides, and I think that's predominantly because of the reason, again, going back to social media. I think it gives people the opportunity and the platform to kind of put out things that they want seen and in a way that they want it to be seen. I think it kind of gives people that control back. I think it's important, to have a diverse group of people working within your company, because at the end of the day, look, nobody can tell the stories of Black people like Black people. I don't care how inversed or immersed rather you are into a culture. You can never really understand a culture unless you come from it. You can never understand that path unless you've walked it in some capacity. And again, not all Black people or minorities share the same story. It's not, some of us grow up in the hood, some of us grow up upper middle class, some of us grow up rich, some of us grow up poor, but from a principle standpoint, we all have the same experiences in a degree to where you can sympathize or empathize differently than someone who does not come from that culture. And I think also, athletes, you know, they, a lot of them come from a lot of the places that, we come from, and they've walked that journey. And yes, they're in obviously different spaces in their life now, but they remember what it was like. And I think that nobody can really tap into that quite like somebody, again, who's walked that journey, who's lived that life. And I think that it's an asset to have just a diverse group of people working for you. And I think that sports, more than ever before, is such a diverse space. And I think that, the trajectory is going to continue. And I hope that people who are currently occupying those spaces, remember how far we have come and take it as their responsibility to help continue to make that the case instead of reverting back to old ways as well.
We talked about that earlier. We talked about earlier about the clapback, and you be on Twitter and you clap back along with a few others that I know that y'all ain't for play.
Yeah, I'm not as good as my girl Joy. She can go in, and I have a limit.
Oh yeah, but both of y'all with the shits like
Yo,
that. There's no doubt about that. But
Yeah.
do you ever find yourself when you're in them, obviously somebody saying something obviously crossing the line or disrespectful or whatever? Do you kind of go back and feel like, damn, I should have just left that one alone? Or do you just kind of just ride with it and say, okay, hey, I said what I said, that's it?
No, I have a say what I said and that's it type of philosophy, which is probably why, like, a lot of people were like, "Can you not say that?" I see it like this, Twitter is not a real place. I know it could seem like a real place because we spend so much time on it. It's not a real place. Like, they don't have the authority to go ahead and cancel me or anybody else. Like, you just don't. At the end of the day, canceling people is not a real thing. I know people think it is, but you really don't have that much power. I think there's a level, though. Obviously, regular trolling and regular name calling and trash talk, from a competitive standpoint in terms of sports. I think you got to take that on the chin. It comes to the territory, especially when you're a media personality, whatever personality type you are. If you have a lot of eyes on you, things that you say, especially when it's opinion based, something as opinion based as sports, you're gonna ruffle somebody's feathers, whether it's one fan base or the other. You're bound to piss somebody off, right? I think when it crosses a line of unwarranted disrespect is when you have the right, regardless of who you are, to be like, skirt, we're not going to do that today. So if you want to start some, I can finish it. There's a old saying in the hood, don't start none, won't be none. And that's how I see it. Like, if you don't want me to thrash you publicly, don't come at me crazy. Really that simple. Like, keep it cute. Keep it cute.
You know what? I swear to God, I was watching something. I think I was following your timeline one time, and I think somebody had said something. You made your statement about a particular sports topic, and then somebody people comment, and it was one person that came back and really like crossed the line for real, and you clapped back so hard. It was like that Red Man video. I be there when old girl hit the car with the bicycle, and everybody's
yeah.
I was looking for that meme. I couldn't find it, but damn it, if I could have found it that time, because that was so cold, it hurt my feelings. It wasn't nothing about me.
Listen, don't start none, won't be none. I feel like there's a level of respect that you should just have from person to person. And if you want to get on Twitter and you want to call me out of my name, or you want to go ahead and make, unwarranted justifications or assumptions about who I am and how I got to where I am. I mean, if you want to take that gamble, go ahead, but I promise you, it's not going to end well for you, sir. So, I
She said
mean,
unwarranted. Whoa.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
listen,
I get it. Now, were
some
you
good.
like growing up? Were you like into like bagging sessions, and that's how you got you sharpened your skill set?
I think, growing up in New York is it's the, nucleus of just roasting sessions. Like, I mean, I remember being at the lunch table minding my own business, and it's just like, you know what, your hair looks so it's like, damn, can I eat? Like, I just you know what I mean? I just got here. I think it's just that quick clap back mentality that New Yorkers have. They're very quick on their feet. Again, it just goes back to just, the hustle and bustle and the movement. And
Mhm.
I also grew up around a lot of guys. I had a lot of guy friends. I still do. I have a lot of family members, obviously, who are male as well. So, it being growing up around guys, it kind of it breeds you just for this. Like, this is exactly what growing up around men can do for you. Like, this is exactly it. And it's worked wonders, and I'm grateful for all of the education I received at a very young age in the
As
art of
you should.
clapback.
You talked about mentoring with men earlier, but what were there any women that took you under their wing, I should say? I know you're very good friends with Joy Taylor, who's on Fox Sports. Several other young ladies I've seen engage with. Who were some of the women that really impacted you and kind of took you under their wing and gave you some pearls of wisdom?
I haven't had many female mentors. I think Joy is probably the only person I could think of off the top of my head who's really given me opportunities throughout, my career thus far. And is really just a cool sounding board, for advice and things like that. And she genuinely, it comes from a genuinely good place.
Mhm.
But then again, just because they're not a quote unquote mentor doesn't mean I don't like learn from them. I have, a friend of mine, Amina Smith, who's out in Boston doing her thing at NBC. I learned things from her, whether, it's in a conversation or just observing her. I'm a big fan of all the women of WNBA Twitter. I think they're killing it. I love how they're just pioneering and trailblazing, that space. And, I'm observing everybody, and I'm a big believer in, I believe if there's room for everybody, and I don't believe that helping one person takes away from you. And I'm not somebody who can't congratulate somebody else on what they're doing or their work. And I think it's corny when women are like that. It's like, I mean, I guess, if that makes you feel better about yourself, cool, whatever. But I'm not that girl. I don't have a problem retweeting something off the strength or, going on somebody's podcast. You don't got to pay me. That's weird. It's just, I feel like people kind of forget that they were once in the space that people are finding themselves in now. And they quickly forget what that was like, and it shows in their actions. And I don't move like that, because as quickly as you get somewhere is as quickly as you can, leave that space as well. So
Oh, indeed,
yeah,
indeed.
listen,
Now you a certified New Yorker. We know
I
you a
am.
certified New York Knicks fan. Sometimes I give you the blues every now and then. Just messing with you. I don't want no clapback. Uh,
Especially because,
but
listen, the Lakers aren't doing so hot, so LA got some issues.
hey, listen, the Lakers are stinking up the joint.
And don't talk about
All
the
right,
Clippers, all right? They ain't
and
so hot
and
either.
and but you know what? I give the Clippers this. Lately, their amount of their comebacks have been very actually fun to watch. I will give the Clippers that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, listen, I don't have a horse in the race. I just do my job and that's it. So that's what gives me the freedom to clown whoever. Uh, but how in the hell did you become a Dallas Cowboy fan being from New York City?
I get this question so much. You'd be surprised how many Cowboys fans are actually in New York. Remember, that's America's team. And for the, a big chunk of the 90s when they were winning Super Bowls,
Mm-hmm.
back to back. And then again in 95, they were all over television. Like, you couldn't turn a TV
Mm-hmm.
on no matter what state you were in and not see the Dallas Cowboys. And my dad is a diehard Cowboys fan. The year I was born, we won a Super Bowl. Shout out to 93. So I didn't have a choice. I grew up that way. Like, just like the Knicks fandom was passed upon me at birth, so was the Cowboys and so were the Yankees. So I really never grew up with any other team. I never had the opportunity to pick, the team that I wanted to be a fan of on my own accord. It was like, these are the teams that you root for, make sure you do it well, do a good job, because you're stuck with them. And that's been the case. So I've been a Yankees, Cowboys, Knicks fan since 1993. So it's been 28 years.
Woo.
I've been
That's a
here.
lot. That's a lot of
Listen,
stress. That's 20
a
years worth of
lot of
stress.
stress. I'm surprised I don't have any grays. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's
I'm about
been
to
a
say
long
because
time.
either that or you found a fountain. You know, they found a fountain. Because goodness gracious, that would have just being a Cowboys fan ages somebody about 10, 20 years.
And then just being a Knicks fan, and then you combine them
Oh,
together. Okay, I hadn't seen a playoff run in 8 years. What do you think I was doing? Like
you
it
know
was
it's
a
fun.
long time.
I grew up an LA Kings fan, and I never thought in my lifetime I would ever think they would get a Stanley Cup, let alone two. And I was ecstatic. I'm like, if they never win again, I'm straight. Like I was good. That's about the only
Listen,
fan I'm still am. I lost my fandom for everything else, but I still kind of root for the Kings.
you're the Dodgers kill it though too. I don't know if you're a Dodgers fan, but
I used to be. I used to be. You know, I used to be a Laker fan. I used to be a Dodger fan. My uncle was a Yankees fan because he was in New York before he passed. So I kind of carried that torch. He was a Yankees fan, and you know, I was all over football fan because I was just we LA. We didn't really have a team. I
mhm.
mean, after '94, they just abandoned us like they looked like for looking for free rent on the first and 15. Um, so we didn't have no football team. And so I was, you know, I would follow the 49ers, I would follow the Cowboys. One, because I was a Deion Sanders guy.
Well, who
So
wasn't? I mean,
yeah,
prime time, baby.
I remind people of this. He is still holds the record for hitting a home run and scoring a touchdown in the same week.
That he
Nobody's
does.
broken that record
That
yet.
he does.
And they won't. And they won't. But anyway, I digress. Not about me. This is about you. When you look at just overall the landscape, right? Because you talk about the Knicks, but how are you able to be objective? Because it's got to be hard for you to be objective when you see the Knicks just play and just piss away games sometimes the way they do. But then you still got to be in that reporter mode, like, okay, I got to still analyze the game. How hard is that for you?
Not hard at all because there's an intelligent way to say that a team sucked. You know what I mean? There's an intelligent way to kind of vocalize they played like trash, right? And I think it's about finding the right wording and the right, semantics to get that point across. But there's absolutely an intelligent objective way to be like, yeah, they played like garbage and they looked like trash. The rotation sucked. Nobody could hit the side of a bus, X, Y, and Z. There's a way to have that conversation. So I have no problem. I think people think, because I'm a Knicks fan, the Knicks can do no wrong in my eyes. If you go back to some of the tweets going back to like 2010, 2014, 20, I am not afraid to be like, the Knicks suck. I hate it here. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I've witnessed the Knicks go through a lot of bad before they got to the good, and I've never been afraid to call them out, regardless of them being my team. Same thing with Dallas. I was not afraid to call them out when they play like garbage against the Broncos. Like, I think, sometimes when you are a fan of a team, it actually makes it easier to call them out because you're very invested. Like, the ins and outs of this
Okay.
team, and it's easy for you to, shout them out when they're bad.
All right, cool. Well, we're gonna get into a quick little lightning round. First thing comes to mind, whatever comes to mind, go ahead and say it.
Oh
So if you
gosh.
were on an island,
Mhm.
and you only had three albums that you could take with you while you were on that island, what would those three albums be?
Oh, okay. The Illmatic, Nas, Jay-Z's The Blueprint, and probably Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon.
Ooh, okay. All
Yeah.
right, all
I'm
right.
a huge Cudi fan. I think a lot of people are like surprised by that. I'm a massive Cudi fan. Yeah.
I used to be. Not so much anymore. I don't know what it
Really?
is. Maybe I just
Actually,
I
a,
used to
a
be.
honorable mention would also be The College Dropout.
Oh, by
Yeah.
far.
That
By
actually might
far.
replace the Cudi one. It'd probably be College Dropout, Illmatic, and The Blueprint. I can listen to those three on loop and listen to it like it's the first song every single time. Yeah.
Okay. I got you. I got you. We heard about your top three kicks earlier, but
Mhm.
aside from those top three, what are your starting five kicks of all time that you have to take in your
Ooh.
suitcase?
The Air Force Ones, white on white. Um, that was one of the first shoes I ever fell in love with. I think, the Air Force just had so much clout in New York City, what it meant to hip hop, but also what it meant to New York is like you were swaggy if you had a pair of Air Force Ones. The Jordan one, obviously, I think, it's a great shoe, versatile, goes with everything. Um, I love a good dunk. It's crazy to me how dunks have just sort of resurfaced and now it's like a commodity trying to get them and you're paying 3 times the value. It's crazy, but whatever. I do love the Yeezy 350s. They're so comfortable.
Mm.
That's like my on the go everyday type of shoe. I always wear them to the airport because it's like wearing a pair of like slippers. And then last is last, just because I'm not like hooping, I can't name any basketball shoes because I never really wear them like that. I actually like a pair of Nike Blazers. I'm a big
Mm.
fan of, I think everybody should own a pair, man or female, man or woman. I think they go with a lot of things. It's a easy cop to get. You don't have to like sell your soul for it. You can still walk into a sneaker store and cop them, and they go with a lot of things. So I feel like those would be, if those were the only 5 shoes I could travel with, it'd be like some variation of those 5 for sure.
All right, so you are on a boat. You can only
Mhm.
rescue one.
Oh
There's
gosh.
a Dallas Cowboys, the New York Knicks, the New York Yankees. You only can rescue one. Which franchise would you rescue?
Okay, the Yankees can drown because they piss me off every year. I'm really upset with them right now. So I'm upset with them right now because we didn't get to play in the World Series. The Astros did, and the Braves. So I'm not feeling them. They can drown. Um. Oh my God, Yankees or the Cowboys? Mm, I gotta go with the hometown team. I gotta keep the Knicks alive. I can't let them drown. They have the New York name in them. It's my hometown team. As much as I love my Dallas Cowboys, MSG just won't be the same without the Knicks. And all of New York would be at my neck. So I don't live in Dallas. I don't gotta deal with that smoke if they drown. You know what I mean? They can't
Ooh,
find me. So I gotta save the Knicks by a small margin. I gotta save the Knicks. Yeah.
ooh, Uncle. Oh, by the way, Uncle Jerry's on line 1 for you when
I'm
we get
sure
off
he
here.
is.
Hot or cold cereal?
Cold cereal.
Frosted Flakes or Fruit Loops?
Frosted Flakes.
Weather, hot or cold?
Cold. I hate being hot. I hate being hot. Like, I don't like it like -10, -20, but give me a nice 40-degree day. I'm comfortable. Give me a 50-degree day. Anything past 70, I just feels unnecessary. Like, for the long term. It's nice on vacation where you're like, oh, it's hot outside and you're there for a week and you get to leave. But like this everyday 90-degree day, I'm good. I'm straight. I don't need it. Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, the one thing I wanted to ask you was if you if you had a biopic, right, and
Mhm.
somebody wanted to make a movie about your life after it's all said and done,
Mhm.
who would play you and why?
Oh. Oh my gosh. Um, I don't know if she can act. That's the only thing. I don't know if she can act. She's not an actress. But I would say from like a look standpoint, I would like Georgia Smith to play me. She'd have to
Okay.
like develop a New York accent though. She's British. But I think her because I really love how again, this is somebody who I love women who are just unapologetically themselves and they're not what you
Hmm.
expect them to be or what they should be. And I feel like Georgia, is that. I think a lot of people want her to be something she's not and she's comfortable who she is. You don't really hear much about her outside of her music. And that's kind of how I am. Like when it comes to my job in sports, it's Ashley was here, Ashley was here. But people don't really know about what goes on outside of that. I like it that way. You know what I mean? And I think Georgia has that level of mysteriousness too. But I also think that she has this like vibe about her where she's very like savage on the outside, but there's a part of her that's very like sweet and sensitive and misunderstood and things like that. So I would definitely say her. I don't know if she can act though, but if she could or she wants to take acting lessons, that's the person I would want to play me.
Okay, I got you. Now, I did say last thing, but I had to ask you this question. I mean, you've been
Mhm.
all over the space. People know your face, they know your name, they see you out
Yeah.
there on social media. What's the craziest DM you've gotten?
Oh my God. I've gotten a few. I've gotten DMs
And
from
what did they say
guys.
though?
I've gotten DMs from guys who are like locked up. And I'm just like, I didn't know you guys could do that in there. Like, where did you get this phone from? Is it a burner phone? Like, is there Wi-Fi in prison? Like, what's happening? I've gotten those type of DMs, like wanting to like for me to send them like clothes that I've worn, like so they can have it with them. Yeah, very weird. I've gotten like feet pic requests and like offered money for them, like, "Oh, I'll pay you like for feet pics, and it's weird. And then the good old, penis pictures are always exciting to get. And what people do
Yikes.
though, you know what people do though, and it's very slick, is that they'll, like, you know how like on a DM you can space it out, like, so you can
Right.
start with like a text and then you send the photo, or you send the photo first and then the text, that's the last thing someone sees when they try to open a message. So they'll present it like they're saying, "Oh my god, I love this interview you did with so and so," and I'll open it because I try to respond to like positive things
Right.
like that, and I open it and there's no screenshot of my interview. There's a photo, but it's not of me. So it's like
What
I
the
stopped like
hell?
opening those DMs because it's just like I can't trust it. But yeah, it's some crazy things in there.
That's some crazy shit. I didn't know. I didn't realize because I've never done that, like ever in my
Mhm.
life. So I'm totally oblivious to the fact that guys still do that crap and
They
think
do
that it's
it.
cool.
They do it, and they're proud to do it, and they're just, yeah, it's like we said in the beginning, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that right there because I can say some other stuff, but I'm gonna leave it right there. You know what, Ashley? Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the NH
Sure.
Experience. I really appreciate you coming on. I thank you for coming on. I'm immensely proud of what you've been able to accomplish thus far and continue to accomplish. Whenever you come to LA, man, when you come to the city, you gotta hit
I'll be
me
out
up,
there.
man.
I'll be out there for Super Bowl, so I'll see you. I'll run
All
into
right,
you.
all right, man. Don't say this now. Oh, you know what? I was so busy. I'm so sorry. It's
No,
7 days. Like it's
I'm not.
7 days. Okay, and
It is the
everybody
whole week.
watching this. Yeah, everybody watching this. So I'm gonna bring this back up. I got
You have the
receipts.
receipts. You got the receipts.
Please let everyone know they can continue to keep up with you and follow you and all your great work, please.
You guys can follow me at Instagram and on Twitter at Ash Nicole Moss, and just keep up with all the stuff that I'm doing. Is always on either one of those two platforms. So
Indeed. I appreciate you. One thing I will say before we get on out of here, I respect the fact that you always keep it 100 with me. You never gone Hollywood. You
of
never,
course not.
acted just because you got, the things that you've earned and climbed with the ladder. So I just want to say I appreciate you for that publicly. And I thank you for that.
Thank
Um,
you.
and like I said, I always wish you the best. Anything we can do here to support, let us know. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the NH Experience with the one and only Ashley Nicole Moss. Hey, y'all better watch your tongues when you talk to her.